My name is Leslie Gonzalez. I'm a project manager here at the Fairbanks North Star Borough. I've been with the borough for 2 years now doing various projects here, and I'm the project manager for the Mary Siah Recreational Structural Upgrades project. And I'll be here to take you on a grand tour of the existing conditions of the project as it stands today. So come follow me now. This is the common room, the room you would walk into when you're going into Mary Siah. Here we see a couple of areas that have been demoed. We have plywood on the ceiling for the protection or the seismic protection of the tongue and groove ceiling that's been placed all in this area. Some of the areas that we need to work around are these existing glulam beams. You'll see there's plastic around them. We're protecting the existing conditions. This back wall here that's exposed is an area that we found some existing mold. It seems as though that it was pre-existing from years before. When we opened up the wall, there was this visqueen that was on the backside of the board, the gypsum board. We don't see any apparent leaks going on the outside of the plastic, but we're still doing further investigation. When we exposed the wall, we noticed that the stud work was not to current standards. Therefore, the contractor will have to do some additional work to bring it up to current standards and to meet our shear wall build. So next we'll be going into the conference room. The conference room shows an example of our exterior walls that will be rebuilt to accommodate shear. This is another example of how the existing studs were not to standards, and the contractor will have to do some additional work to bring them to standards and to accommodate for our new shear walls. This is a typical of what you'd see along all the exterior walls here. So like the common room, the ceilings will receive a plywood fastened to this existing tongue and groove ceiling. The plywood will be installed from end to end, butted up to the glulam beams that we see here. However, in this situation, the mechanical ductworking is installed right up against the glulam beams. This ductwork will have to be removed in order for us to put the plywood in and reinstalled. However, it's not a guarantee that we will be able to reuse this ductwork. And this ductwork goes along the whole length of the building here in the next 3 rooms over. So right here is the part of the ductwork that needs to be removed to receive the plywood that will be butt up this glulam beam. This is the ductwork that runs along the full length of the building. It will be removed and replaced. Some of it may be salvageable. This wall that leads up to the bottom side of the ductwork would have to be removed or replaced to accommodate for receiving new ductwork. So here we're entering the electrical room where we have a lot of obstacles to overcome. This room will be receiving the plywood installed on the glulam beam. If you look up, we have a lot of ductwork that needs to be removed and reinstalled, a lot of conduit that needs to be removed and reinstalled. This wall here reveals some existing mold. When the wall was removed, this plastic was existing. There have been no signs of continuation, but we did notice there was some mold in this wall here. So now we'll be walking into the men's locker room. So here you'll see we've eliminated a wall, and this wall will be replaced with a shear wall. But we've come into a couple of dilemmas of the existing columns that have been here for a while. Here is an example of one column. We've noticed that there have been some rust and deterioration on the column. It's not completely structural sound, and there will have to have some remediation work to be done to it. Some of the items we ran into were existing mechanical items that we'd have to eliminate and reinstall. Here is another example of a column that is deteriorated on the floor that we'd have to do some structural upgrades to. We're walking into the area from the men's locker room that leads out to the pool area. This wall has been demoed, and we found that it was not installed in the location we designed it to be at for reinstall. It's off by a couple inches. We'll have to accommodate for the location. The column seems to be somewhat rusted out and deteriorated. We'd have to do some structural improvements on this. So here I also wanted to point out that the contractor has installed temporary structural bracing. It's installed on the existing glue lamp beam here. This has been installed to accommodate for the shear wall that we will be installing along this wall during the time that we have our transition. So here we're entering into the women's locker room. Over to the right here, where the lockers are set up, you'll see we've removed the ceiling to expose tongue and groove ceiling that we will have to put the plywood on. But you can see we've run into some dilemmas here. We've got to remove all this ductwork and reinstall it. So here we're getting to the women's shower area. This we're showing the exterior wall. The tile's been removed, and we will be including a structural upgrade. However, we've run into a dilemma that this wall is lead based, and we will have to be doing a lead abatement on it before we put in our structural upgrade. And we'd have to start from the floor out to be able to accommodate for our structural upgrade. This wall goes from the shower room all the way out to the pool room. Some items we found when removing the ceiling, we've got some openings that were unexpected that we may have to fill in. So here's the other side of the women's shower room. As you can see, the wall has been stripped down to the existing CMU structure. So this is the hallway from the women's locker room leading out to the pool. As you can see, the yellow wall comes all the way out to the pool area that has been stripped from floor to ceiling. We're entering out to the pool area. On your left here, you'll see the existing CMU wall that has been stripped all the way down to existing. This wall will be upgraded structurally. When this wall was exposed, you can see the yellow and green paint on it. It tested positive for lead. We have to do a lead abatement on it prior to doing any structural upgrades. That's floor to ceiling. Some of the issues we found when opening and exposing this wall, there's a lot of holes that need to be patched and filled. We've got existing conduit that's been either abandoned or still live to feed the pool lights. Some of these items need to be removed or relocated depending on the status of workability. So now we're going to be heading down to the boiler room. In this area, we will be removing the existing paint on the beam and on the metal pan decking. This paint has been tested lead positive. Now we'll be doing a lead abatement on the beams and the pan decking. It seems as though the areas we've tested so far are lead positive. So in the ceiling in this area, we're doing some minor improvements with the metal pan decking. We are trying to scrape as much of the existing paint off and reinstall it. However, most of the paint we've been scraping off is lead. Therefore, we've got to do a lead abatement to the area. So in this area, I'm showing you this existing beam that seems to be highly rusted out. We will be removing the paint. However, we found this red and white paint is lead. We'll have to be doing a lead abatement in this area. And on the other side of the beam, we'll be installing structural cold form beam to allow to accommodate some of the structural load. However, the metal pan decking that's there is highly eroded and rusted out. We're concerned that it won't have the structural capability we need it to for fastening of the new beam. This area receives plenty of water runoff from the concrete outside. It makes its way into the pan decking, and as you can see, it has rusted out and caused somewhat fatigue to the metal pan decking. We have to find some alternative for receiving the new structural beam that's going to be installed here. So this is one of the main lines for the pool drains. Part of this project will be cleaning out the pool drains and relining them. Pool drains are cast iron. They go from around the perimeter of the pool. And lastly, we are at the pool area. Just wanted to show you how the contractor has taken safety measures to protect the pool as much as possible during this construction period. No damage has been done to the pool whatsoever. So this concludes our virtual tour of the Mary Siah Recreational Structural Upgrades project. Thanks for watching.